What's up, YouTube? Thought I'd go live for a minute. See what's up with everybody out there. One way got a cool story to tell, but we'll start off with something else first. Let me let the time go by and see people come through. You guys like my Popeye shirt? You know, I want to speak on there's a hater out there who wants to I don't know, talk bad about me, or this is the year of the snake, y'all, so you got to keep your spidey antennas up and make sure you be aware of what's going on out here. But anyways, there's a guy out here, if y'all know, you guys been hearing the rap songs and shit. It's your partner. At first, I had noticed, let's tell the true story, since everybody want to make up stories and shit and stuff like that. So let's tell the true story, because one way would like to keep it 100. But anyways, let me go check my mail. Yeah, this guy that has a couple rap songs and shit out on me, hating on me, complaining about, or saying somehow that I'm just some troll that came through or something like that. People out here, they like to twist shit up and they like to flip on you and stuff like that. But the truth of it is, that this guy was supporting my channel, and I noticed he had shared a couple of my videos. I'm talking about It's Your Partner, Ivy's friend. Anyways, this guy was sharing a couple of my videos and shit, so I was like, oh shit, this guy's probably subscribed to me. So, I came through, said what's up. He was cool, said what's up. And then after that, IV goes on his fucking hating campaigns and shit. So IV, has everybody hate and block me and shit. So It's Your Partner decided he wanted to start hating on me and shit. So hey, what's up with it? This was just a quick live and shit. Just gonna speak on some stuff, since I'm hearing a lot of rap songs and stuff about me. Wanting to speak on the truth. So anyways, that's how all that started. So if you guys wondering why this guy's talking about me and stuff like that, that's what it really is. And nothing else other than that. Hey, what's up with it? What's up, cowboy? Appreciate you coming through. I was just speaking on some BS, since I seen some stuff out there. People want to lie and flip up stories and stuff like that. So I figured I'd just speak on a couple things. I was going to tell a story. I got a story to tell. I was going to talk about back in the days. I talk about when I worked at the power plant, and I wanted to tell a story about, when I had worked there. It was crazy times. This was back in 2000 when the towers had got hit and stuff like that. I was working there right before that. But anyways, when that had happened, we had to hire all kinds of security and stuff like that. And they had, since I was doing logistics, they had me oversee, security and stuff like that. So we went with a company out in the Bay, and we hired like a dozen guards coming through to watch the plant. Like more guards at the main gate, guards at the other gate, and we had guards in the elevators, guards everywhere, guards doing traffic and shit like that and stuff, just all kinds of, put guards everywhere, because that's what was going on when the 9/11 hit. Everybody was all worried and shit. So anyways, man, during the time that I was there, it was like wild times. I remember it was a couple female guards that always wanted to work the elevators, and I never knew why. Never knew why they always wanted to work the elevators and shit. But come to find out that these girls, they was making good money working them elevators and shit. Man, there was a lot of stuff going on when I was there. They had opened up a brothel. It was out in the cuts in a little ranch. Even ended up with a flyer they sent around the damn power plant, and that's what got it fucking shut down. Got it raided and shit. But before then, it was popping with like gambling machines, girls, and all that shit. They even told me to go through there and check it out, but shit, I might have, but it was just crazy times in those days working at the power plant. I was young. I think I was in my early 20s and shit, so I was hustling, Come to find out that a lot of the people that worked on the power plants that were in the unions and stuff like that, they all like to smoke herbs and stuff like that. So it was funny, man. While I was there doing logistics and shit, I was mainly trying to plug in. I was plugging in everybody out there. I had met some OGs out there that were like running foremans and stuff that were making, three racks just for like speaking for maybe 20 minutes to their crew. People out there making big money. This was back in the early 2000s. But anyways, people were hitting me up, were like, telling me the stuff that I was supplying them with and shit. It was like the best shit they ever had in their life and stuff like that. These were like old timers and stuff like that. People that were talking about, purple hair and stuff like that to me, that were growing that shit up in Shasta. These guys had nice cribs and stuff like that. I don't want to mention names and stuff like that, but like I said, it was crazy times working at the power plant. I wish I didn't have to quit, but like I said before, I used to see all the people walk around in hazmat suits and stuff like that, and I used to have to wear my helmet all the time, and man, I was getting migraines, and so, and ended up having to shut that down. But the power plant was like wild times and shit. From the 2 years I was there, I met a lot of cool folks that I still know to this day. There was like a few females out there that would like always bring me baked goods. Like they would be baking me cookies, like just all. I never met such nice people like during the short time that I was there. People always bringing me stuff, like it's crazy. Shout out to all those folks and shit. Yeah, that was a crazy time back in those days. Remember I had told you guys I had to shut down the power plant because found a little chameleon, or not a chameleon, but a salamander. It was in the road, and the environmentalists made us shut that whole shit down. Yeah, it's some wild people out here. There's some guards and shit that I still know to this day too. Like, it's just crazy how and they're still, fuck. I went to an event the other day. They had Monterey had a reggae fest, and when I had rolled by, I had ran into this guy who was a guard over there at the power plant, still guarding his shit, still doing that shit. But that's cool. People still doing cool shit out there. It's crazy how people keep their careers and stuff like that. Me, I haven't worked. To be honest, I haven't worked a job since 2000, since I worked at the power plant. I've been just, entrepreneur, doing my online businesses and my businesses and shit out here. Used to have all kinds of different hustles back in the days. I talked about my storage war times and all them days and stuff like that. Out here, some crazy people out here in the area where I live. People are kind of odd and shit out in the cuts, especially. The city is a little like pretty gang infested and shit. And the cuts is it's like wild, wild west. It's kind of crazy. A lot of the unsolved mysteries and a lot of the dirt happens out there in the cuts. The city life is always the city life and shit. It's always rough and tough, but out in the cuts, like, y'all know how it is. Like, you end up on some back road and you might not be heard of again and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But I love the country life and shit. City life is cool, but the people, you can't be trusting people and stuff like that. So I'd like to keep, kind of a little more private. Yeah, that dude, that concert, he was on one and shit. There's a lot of people like that. They, this is the area where a lot of that stuff comes through and stuff, like back in the days. Shit, I could tell you a story about coming through Texas and shit. A bunch of them colorful beans. But anyways, people out here, they be on one and shit sometimes. Still, it's crazy. I got a lot of people out here that gone too far on that stuff. We used to get turned up back in the hyphy days and stuff like that, but that was like in the early 2000s. Early 2000s. I ain't gonna lie, we used to that's when I used to wear all my saggy babes and all the baggy clothes and stuff, like big old stutter shades and shit. Used to get wild at night. But it's calmed down since then. It was like the little hyphy era going on. That guy was like still in the hyphy era. That music, Keek. Hey, what's up, Pew? Man, I've been coming through your lives and stuff like that. I think you got me blocked. Oh, what happened? Man. I pushed the wrong thing. I meant to add you as a, my bad, Pew. I got you as a mod right now. Appreciate you coming through. Yeah, that guy was wild. he was taking it back to the old school tell me when to go days and shit, when Keek the Sneak was, when everybody was on one and shit. I modded you up. Damn, man. Man, these buttons. There you go, Pew. My bad. You can comment and let me see what's up. Alright. Man, them buttons and shit, I try to mod you up and I think I timed you out and did all kinds of shit. I just thought I'd go live for a minute, see what's up with everybody, since I don't be going live. So shout out to Pew and salute to Cowboy out there. Go subscribe to Cowboy Pew. He's good folks out there. Oklahoma. And vice versa. Go subscribe to Pew. Pew be pulling coats. Pew keep it 100, man. Appreciate that, Pew. Yeah, I've been hit. I've been trying to come through and support your channel and shit. Yeah, Pew, he be pulling coats. If you step wrong, Pew ain't got no shame. He'll pull your coat. Cool. Yeah, subscribe to Cowboy. These good folks out there, they're always having a good time. And if you like cars and stuff like that, I seen you out there picking at the yard. Man, these guys, all his folks, they know all about cars and stuff like that. That's cool. Yeah, I was just telling some stories about power plant and, you know, it's wild and shit just working there. You know, the brothel and shit. Man, they had gambling. They had girls. It was turned up in there and shit. I'm surprised all them workers was out there too. All them workers, they'd be out there in the brothel, then they'd be out there at the power plant working the next day, early in the morning. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of stuff going on these days. World. You gotta just be aware of what's going on around you and stuff like that. Don't get too caught up into, you know, the BS. Just make sure you keep aware of what's going on out there. Nah, that was giving me a headache. It was giving me migraines. I quit. Like, I didn't want to quit. It was good money and shit too. Salary. I could go out there in my little truck and go out there and sleep in the cuts, get paid and just not come in and just do all kinds of stuff. It was crazy out there, but I was getting migraines. I don't know if it was the helmet. I had to wear like a hard hat, or if it was the goggles, or if it was all the asbestos and the power, like zzz, like all around. But that's a good career for someone, though. I mean, if they don't get migraines, it's good for somebody. Man, there was a 90-year-old lady that worked out there. She was a savage. She was like the OG that worked for the company. She was like the original guard. She worked for the company. She was like 90 years old, Italian lady. And man, she had already had a heart attack like a few decades ago. So she had like a fake, heart something, like a fake. I forget what they're called. But man, that gave her a whole new life or something. Gave her a whole new life, man. This lady, she was 90 and shit. I swear she had more energy than me and anybody that was there. Like, she talked and walked and never wanted to sit down, and it's crazy. Man, she even invited me over to her crib. I met her boyfriend. He had like an OG Model A car. It's crazy. They used to ride around town in the old Model A car. Model T or Model A. You know them old school cars? A heart murmur. Yeah. Yeah, something had happened major with her heart, but she barely had passed not that long ago. But man, she was a pretty tough lady, like one of the toughest ladies I ever met in their 90s. So, how's everybody doing out there? Everybody doing good? Staying healthy? Make sure you guys stay healthy. That's one thing I avoid going to is the doctors and shit. I should be going to. You know, the older you get, you should be going, maybe check up yourself, make sure you're all good. And, sometimes the thing is about me is I don't want to hear nothing bad. So they say a lot of it is the mind. So once the doctor tells you something, the mind sometimes will react and your body will react on the mind. So sometimes I don't be liking to go to the doctors unless I'm feeling some type of way or something. But as long as I feel good, it's cool. You got your car. Oh, hell no. You should see my floor down below. It looks like shit. It's far from that. I gotta vacuum my shit. You know how it is living in the country. You can't keep that shit clean. I got dirt, rocks, pebbles, fucking pine trees, redwood, fucking all kinds of shit up in here. This part stays clean because, it's like leather and shit like that. But the floor, shit, I gotta constantly be vacuuming that shit. Or have somebody do it. You know how it is. Can't even keep shoes clean in the cuts. But that's just a part of it. I'm willing to I'm willing to deal with that just to have a little privacy, you know what I'm saying? I've lived in the city a long time, like I've lived out there, apartments, condos, houses, like I've done it all. And it's just I like being a little private, a little more having property. I got my chickens and stuff like that. In fact, I was gonna post a little video. My chicken had a bunch of little chicks. She's a sav, man. She has like so many chicks. Yeah, you should see the outside of my car. It's full of this damn tree sap. I be hand washing it once in a while right here. But damn, these redwood trees, if you guys know about redwood trees, they drip fucking sap and it looks like blood. I came out to my car one day. The first time I had noticed it, I came out to my car and fuck, I thought an animal had like massacred something on top because there was like red drops all over it and it looked just like blood. I was like, damn, a cat or a wild animal or something fucking ate a chicken or something on my damn car. But then I had cleaned it all off. And then the next day it was the same shit. Red drops all over my shit. So I finally realized that the damn tree was dripping red blood and shit all over my car. Like, it looks like blood. It's crazy. You know, you pull up and park somewhere, someone looks like, you look like you got blood and shit all over your car. Yeah, I got this big ass redwood tree right here. It's like monstrous. So what's going on out there with you today out there, cowboy? Anything popping? You got them rodeos going on. Summertime's coming up. We got a rodeo coming up. I think it's August. Salinas. It's pretty big. I'll try to film it out there. I like to watch the bull riding. It's usually right before, it's the main event before the main rodeo. They got the PBR out there. And they got they open up the bars and stuff, and the first couple of nights are pretty wild. I try to go live if they don't copyright me. You see all them girls and them Daisy Dukes and stuff. My girlfriend liked country music. My pops used to like country music growing up too, to be honest with you. I listen to a little country music, believe it or not, but you know, I've always just listened to rap my whole life, and it's crazy how I listen to a lot of rap. But shit, my dad should always wore a cowboy hat and stuff like that, cowboy boots. I ain't gonna lie. I bought my dad cowboy boots growing up, and I remember I was a little youngster and shit. You know, I was a bad little kid, you know. And it was one Christmas and shit. You know, I went on a little bipping spree, you would call it and shit. And man, I came through and bought my dad these high-end belts and fucking, I didn't buy them, but I got him these high-end belts and cowboy hats, and I got my mom a bunch of shit from Carmel, and my sister, I got her a bunch of, like, back in the days it was like VHS movies, all these Walt Disney movies, and I thought my parents were gonna be so proud of me and shit, you know, but and my dad never wore that shit because he knew that it came from the wrong place and shit. My pops, he was like that and shit. Even though he did his own things in his own ways and shit, like I said, when it came to hunting and stuff like that, like he didn't like me being bad or lying or being a thief or no shit like that. So my pops, he pretty much always keep my ass in check, especially when it was in school time. Shit, I feared my pops. Yeah, man, I thought my parents were gonna be so proud of me and shit, bringing them nice presents, and they knew damn well I had no money and shit to bring them that shit, and it just like disappointed him and shit instead. Shit, my sister had the biggest fucking Walt Disney collection growing up and shit, man. I got her the whole damn Walt Disney VHS collection growing up. Right, at least, that's right. You know, at least, and shit, you know, I took the risk too. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't easy getting those things. It's not, you know what I mean? But, you know, that was my younger days. You know, we're wild and shit. We do crazy things and shit. You know, I tell my son, don't be messing around and stuff like that. If he ever needs anything or can't get it, to ask me or something like that. But you know, back in the days, it was wild, wild west and shit. No cameras and stuff like that. So did a lot of shit and gotta live with. Man, if you could just have seen videos and shit of the stuff that we used to do back in them days, man. I don't even know how I'm still alive or not doing life. Knock on wood. Wild times. So I like to see the youngsters, you know what I'm saying? I ain't a type to hate. As I get older and stuff like that, I still be in the mix and shit. So, cause I remember being young, I ain't gonna hate on the youngsters, you know what I'm saying? They have their own ways of doing it nowadays. It's like our generation looking at the OGs before us, you know, and vice versa, or even before that, way before that. Like the rock era coming out, or rap era, or any of that shit. We all gotta like appreciate and be a part of it all. You know what I'm saying? Because the future, the kids are the future. Too shit. Yeah, them boots ain't cheap, man. Yeah, cowboy boots. They got a lot of spots out here because we got a lot of ranches and stuff and shit all around. So there's a lot of. I'll do some videos on some cool ass Western stores we got around here. You'd be surprised. You know, a lot of people around here, they wear cowboy boots and stuff like that. It's still wild, wild west. You know, I had growing up, they do like you know, the town, a couple towns farther over, they used to have like, you know, fests and stuff like that, and wheelbarrow runs with like chili cook-offs and people getting drunk and just wild times and shit. And people would all come through on their horses and stuff. Still people ride around the horses in the country. Most of my neighbors, they got horses and stuff like that. Horses, cows, emus. Some guy down the road, he got a bunch of emus. Yeah. They don't understand that the times. See, I grew up with having to fucking use the payphone all the time. And having a pager and stuff like that. But people don't know about the payphones. You know, I had like a couple spots. It was my main. You know, everybody had their go-to payphones and stuff like that. I had my go-to payphones. Maybe like 3 of them. I would even have the payphones that I would have to use were the ones where you could receive calls and shit. You guys remember them back in the days? Most payphones they didn't receive calls, but them rare ones they receive phone calls. So I'd be at the phone call at them ones that can receive the phone calls too. I'm seeing if YouTube gonna put me in the algorithm, but I think they got me like shadow banned or something. I think only my subscribers sliding through. I gotta start going live a little more, and they'll start putting me in the algorithm where like random people start coming through and stuff like that. They got gadgets. Yeah, nowadays it's different. That's why I tell my son, it's different. Satellites and shit watching you right now all the time. You know what I'm saying? See, if you come from that era, you know about them payphones and stuff like that. Having to have change and stuff like that. Right, that's why you had to make sure you had them phones that had incoming calls. So you remember them days. People have it so easy these days with the phone just right there and shit. It's crazy. Linking up with people and stuff like that was, a little harder and shit. Right. That's how it is. That's how it was. Yeah, times have changed now. Technology and stuff like that. It's all different. Shit, I had like 2 pagers and shit. In them days, I had a couple pagers. We was all in the mix. I used to be a little hustler in them days, man. Like, money, hustling. I slowed down a lot. These days, you try to keep it legit, you know what I'm saying? But them days, it was like anything goes. And it was a lot, them times, it was a lot easier to keep things within a circle and, shit didn't leak out and stuff like that. These days, it's shit tapped into your phone. They got leaks. Just everywhere is leaks. Back in them days, it was shit was pretty tight. I'll be reminiscing and shit. I got a lot of folks. You know, rest in peace, Ray Charles and Manu and L Dog and A-Rusk and just a lot of the people growing up, man, this ain't here. Yeah, them were the days. I still, my son, he doesn't understand how easy he has it and shit these days, with the technology just right there in his hand, and how hard what we had to do to get it. You know what I'm saying? It was like we had to like fucking grind and be out there, and we couldn't just sit back and, you know, have the phone do things for us and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, we used to kick back. You know, when I used to kick back on the block, I used to sit there drinking 40 ounces and shit. I ain't gonna lie. I had my 40-ounce days and stuff like that. I don't see too many people drinking 40 ounces and stuff like that. I see them drink 32 ounces once in a while. But it was like heavy on the 40 ounce in them days and shit. We had the local markets, like, we was cool with everybody, so, you know, we would get free liquor and rest in peace to my homie Manu, but his spot on the block with the grandma right there on Cabrillo and shit. It was like the party spot in Salinas. Man, she was like the grandma of the town right there. And that's where I spent a lot of my days, drinking 40 ounces and partying. And the whole street right there was pretty crazy and shit. Enrique lived at the end of the block. Des Dog lived right across the street. Enrique and his little brother Pablo. Pablo was a little crazy guy and shit, man. He's one of them guys that has no neck, but that motherfucker was stronger than that motherfucker with his break your leg with his bare hands and shit. Enrique was pretty. I missed. Yeah, shit. I used to talk to them girls. I ain't gonna lie. Later on, I ended up, when we had phones in our cribs and shit. We all had phones in our cribs, but shit, I used to be talking to girls all the time and shit. I don't know if it was normal for dudes to be talking to girls, but I used to talk to a lot of girls on the phone and shit, to be honest with you. The girls would call me, and sometimes I would call them and shit. And you know, it's just like, you was young and shit too. A lot of them might have still lived with their parents and stuff like that. But you still fucking be macking and shit. Shit, I had so many. Even though people like looks, you don't be tripping on looks and stuff, as long as you got, like, you can speak and you got game and stuff. Because I had so many girlfriends growing up. I think maybe I looked a little different. I might have been a little thicker. But shit, I had girlfriends in all schools and shit. Girls fighting, getting mad because they find out I was with another girl. Like, man, I had a lot of, like, my girlfriend still talks about all the girlfriends, and I have buckets full of letters and pictures and all that shit full of, I don't know how I still have them, but through all the years, my girl had kept them because she went to my school. And man, girls, that was one thing that I had a lot of fun with, was all kinds of girls and shit. Being with all kinds of girls, meeting all kinds of girls. And then when I was expelled, going to other schools, I would meet up with so many other girls and stuff. And that was the thing. I would like, I was kind of connected all around. So I would take the city girls out there to the countries, and they never seen that shit. Bonfire parties and shit, and getting fucked up out there in the cuts, like playing the music as loud as you want. And man, it's just wild and shit. We used to be on some heavy shit back in them days too. I ain't gonna lie. Like, we used to mix and mingle with all kinds of different things and shit. We used to be even like dosing and shit. Like, I had plugs in Frisco and shit that was giving me, um, I don't know if you guys ever seen that liquid, say acid in liquid form and shit. We was plugged in with that and making sheets of shit. This was back in the days and shit. Like, all that shit was in my older days, so don't be think I'm still fucking caught up in that shit. But man, we used to be tripping and crazy times and shit. I ain't gonna lie. I remember this one homie and shit. He ended up fucking ICU. He he ended up fighting the damn. He was from the city and shit, but he had got fucked up out there in the cuts, on some shit. And next thing you know, he was in ICU, all bloody because he was fighting cartoon characters in a glass window. He thought, they was attacking him or something like that. So he was out there fighting himself, fucking up, getting all cut up, bloody. Some of them drugs fuck you up and shit. Shit, but I ain't gonna lie. To be honest, back in them days and shit, when I took first couple times when I took a dose, I seen things that, people talk about the ayahuasca experience and all them experience. Man, the shit that I seen lets me know that there is a fucking whole nother fucking world that's tapped in, because I still don't see the shit that I saw in them days and shit. Like, I don't know, it's just hard to explain. I seen some crazy shit. Probably why I'm kind of messed up these days and shit from messed up stuff back in them days, doing wild things and shit. When you're young and shit, you used to do all kinds of stuff. That's just experimenting when you're young. I ain't never shot no heroin and shit like that. But all them other things, recreational things, I might have tapped in, fucked around with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Might have stayed up a few nights growing up. Yeah, just be talking about wild times and shit when he was young. And I was never all into that shit or nothing like that either, but it was just sometimes you get loose and shit, you know what I mean? And we would get loose and shit sometimes. But mainly, I was not sober because, I always smoke herbs and shit. But that was just it. That's always been my things. But see, it wasn't legal growing up like it is now. But that's just always been my thing. And puffing on herb, I knew a lot of growers and shit like that. And made a lot of money off that shit back in the days. I ain't gonna lie. You know, being plugged into growers and shit, you'd be surprised how much money you can make. Back when the when it wasn't all regulated and shit like that. When the dispensaries first started opening up, shit, I was plugging in all kinds of shit. I had my vendor license and shit. I had my growing license. This was back when you had to have all your licenses. I had my medical card before. This was, I think, early 2000s. So you had to get your medical card and a grower's permit. You had to do all that just to like be kind of semi-legitimate in the game. And so, you know, we used to hustle. So I was running packs all around and shit. You know, making some, you know, $2,000 from each little pack, like just weed though. You know what I'm saying? Easy money, like clean money and shit. This was back in early 2000s too. When the dispensaries first started popping up in our area, before they started to legalize it, it was just medicinal purposes. And so, shit, I could make a, you know, 4,000 in one day, just make 2 runs to Oakland or 2 runs to Hayward and bring that shit back to Santa Cruz or whatever. Back in them days. It's crazy to see how Burner had opened up, has all his dispensaries now, and it's all legal. And the shit that I was doing, I knew it was gonna be legal one day. I've always known. That's why I never had no fears. A lot of the dealers I knew, as long as they was only dealing with the weed, there was no problems and shit. As long as they didn't get like you know, jacked or something like that. But the police only was fucking with people that was pushing, you know, hardcore shit. So back in them days, in my early days, you know, weed was the easy way to make money, you know. Just running shit around. People were paying $3,500, $4,000 for peas back in them days. You know, we were getting them for 1,000 and under. Burner could tell you about all them days before opening dispensaries and stuff like that. Before he had the cookies, grinding and shit. It was a whole different lifestyle. I have some folks out there that went out there to in fact start an operation in damn. Oklahoma. Shit. Fuck, I was thinking Oakland. But my folks, if you go look up Weedador, Oklahoma, that's my boy. He's getting old now and shit. You've had his leg amputated and stuff like that. In fact, he stopped smoking weed, but just a few years ago, he had an operation out there. He set up a big grow out there. You go check him out. You can go check him out. It's legit too, all licensed and shit. You know how it is these days. You know, he's an OG. He was one of my old school friends. Like, he's an old school Raider fan. Yeah, it's out there in Oklahoma. I gotta tell him. I gotta find out exactly where it's at. Go to. They call him Weedador. He's on Instagram and shit. You'll probably find out the location on there. I'm on there. But he's from the Bay Area, Raider fan. I met him way back in the days at a dispensary and shit. He's like an OG grower and shit from way back in the days before he stopped, with the weed game. But I met him in a dispensary way back in the days and shit. He was the one that taught me about growing Granddaddy under the high pressure sodium fucking. I think he was using 3,000 waters and shit in them days. And then I think running metal halides too. But this was back in the days. Cause I told him he had like the best. His shit tasted like blueberry muffins. Yeah, Granddaddy Perps and shit. We used to, back in the days, that was what everybody was on. And so, you know, coming from the city, I was plugged into the Bay and had my license and stuff. So I was bringing a lot of that Perps. Everybody was on that Perps. It was like, I grew up in the Perps era where everybody wanted purple weed and shit. It was like if you had purple weed, you was the king. Even though before that I came up in the crypto era because, and the crypt if anyone talks about the best weed out there, they got to know about the 90s Crip. And my boys, the Rasta boys out there, shout out to them in Salinas and shit. They was the one fucking growing all that shit. And people was coming from all over. It was that shit that, like, still to this day, I can never, there's nothing like that Crip shit. Like, Perps and shit is all good like that, but that Crip, it had motherfuckers yakking and sick and, like, that shit was just major strong. That shit was like, put you on one. That shit smelled like cheese too. I remember it had like a unique smell. It smelled like cheese. Damn, shout out to all my folks. I have a lot of people I miss from them days. Yeah, but the 90s crypto, back in them days, that was like crazy stuff. All the rappers and all the Olympians and shit was coming to get that shit. Phone's about to go dead here in a minute. Yeah, I used to mess around and shit back in the days. different operations and stuff. But I kind of steered away from some of that because I had some friends that got caught up. You know, people was starting to get into them dabs and stuff like that, and man, you start manufacturing that shit like there, and it's no longer, they no longer treat you like you're just dealing with weed. They treat you like you pushing some wild shit. So I know a few folks that had some serious charges come upon them manufacturing wax and stuff like that. We used to fuck around with that shit until we find out that shit gonna get you caught up in some serious shit. Man, I don't know how I started talking about wild shit in the back of the days, but that was like all the wild, wild west days. These days, you know, I'm pretty clean and shit because, you know, my son and everything, got my girl. It's a different lifestyle. You gotta kind of flash straight, and times are different. And I don't like sitting in jail and shit like that. I did my time and stuff like that. And I told people I ain't coming back. I only got my one son. Because, you know, I was young. In my mind, you know, I was going to have more kids, but I was like, man, let's wait till I'm settled down and got a big crib. And I don't know why I never had more kids. I should have had more kids, like at least a girl. Oh, you have a 15-year-old? Cool. Yeah, that was the thing, man. If I had a girl, I knew I would be really overprotective and stuff like that. And plus, you know, I had a sister growing up, and I knew how she was growing up. She was pretty wild. So having kids just is hard. Changes you and stuff like that. You got other things to think about. I think that's what changed me. You know, rest in peace to my homie and shit. They call him Killer out there in Salinas and shit. Manu and shit. But when my son was born, he fucking passed. Doctor said he fucking died of pneumonia and shit. I don't know. But I don't know. Just I told myself that I'm gonna flash straight. You know, I used to be pretty wild in them days and shit. I ain't gonna lie. If everybody, you know, people want to talk about me that don't know me, but if the people that know me growing up and stuff like that, like honestly, you know, I don't try to act tough or nothing like that, and I don't want to. It wasn't about being tough. It's just I was just raised different and shit. I was always raised to protect myself, so people always knew that I always had protection, let's just say. So they respected that. And I never fuck with nobody. I never was like the type of person that, you know, beef with people and stuff like that. that's why I'm still here today, because you know I don't fly like that. I don't roll like that. I've always been solid and shit with everybody. That's why I can still go to venues and shit like the Hacienda and Salinas and shit. You know, you can't just, not everyone can just roll through there and shit. That's like, it's a nice spot. I mean, I don't know why I was just so wild growing up and shit. I'm pretty sure you're the same way. You know what I mean? All of our friends just was in the mix, and just, that's just how it was. But everybody knows, like, I ain't the same person that I was in them days and stuff like that. Even though I have all my friends that I still know, it's crazy. But everybody changed. Everybody matured and growed up and shit. You know, I know people that are just, you would think they would never change. But, you know, people change. I saw the light. Like, it didn't take nobody to, like, put fear in me or nothing like that either. I just did it for my child and stuff like that. You know, you know when you're young, dumb, you don't care about dying and stuff like that. That's what made me wild and shit. But when my son was born, it's like I got something to live for. I got someone to protect and shit. So it wasn't just about me no more. And that's why, probably why I am the way I am now. Slow down and shit. I'm probably going this live. My shit's about to go dead here in a minute. Plus I'm getting hungry. My stomach's trying to growl. Guess YouTube don't got me in no algorithm, because usually I can see my numbers will fly up 30, 10, 15. I don't think it's went past a couple people. I appreciate you coming through. When you gonna go live again? You haven't been going live. You deleted a couple of your last lives I was up in. Shit, I might delete this one. I'll probably keep it up. I appreciate y'all coming through. Everybody have a good day. Stay blessed. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do. Peace out.